$850 billion. That's not the GDP of a country. That's not the value of a company. That's one man's net worth. And only a few days ago, a jury in San Francisco found him liable for deliberately misleading investors to drive down a stock price before buying the company for $44 billion. The potential damages? $2.5 billion. His lawyers called it a bump in the road. And they're right. Because for a man worth $850 billion, a $2.5 billion fraud verdict isn't a punishment. It's a rounding error. His name is Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
And he's about to become something no human being has ever been. The world's first trillionaire. Now, before you think this is just another story about a rich guy getting richer, stop. Because what's happening right now isn't just about money. It's about what happens when one person accumulates more wealth than most civilizations in history, while the systems meant to hold him accountable hand him fines he can pay with pocket change. Here's what's coming, and why nobody is ready for it. Let's start with the number, because the number is the story. As of March 2026, Elon Musk's net worth sits at roughly $850 billion, according to Forbes. Bloomberg puts it closer to $650 billion, depending on how they value his private holdings. Either way, he is the wealthiest human being who has ever lived by any modern measure. He's worth more than the next 3 richest people on Earth combined: Larry Page, Sergey Brin, and Mark Zuckerberg. He's worth more than the entire GDP of Switzerland, more than Argentina, more than Australia. Forbes just released its 2026 billionaires list. There are now a record 3,428 billionaires on the planet. Musk is worth more than the bottom 693 of them combined. Let that settle for a moment. One man, worth more than 693 billionaires put together. And less than 0.1% of his wealth is in cash. He said it himself on his own platform. Almost every dollar is tied up in ownership stakes in his companies, which means his fortune rises and falls with stock prices and valuations that he, more than almost anyone on Earth, has the power to influence. Which brings us to Friday. But here's where it gets much bigger than a fraud verdict. On March 20th, 2026, a 9-person jury in San Francisco found Musk liable for misleading Twitter investors during the run-up to his $44 billion acquisition in 2022. The class action lawsuit, Pampina versus Musk, centered on 2 tweets. On May 13, 2022, Musk wrote that the Twitter deal was temporarily on hold over concerns about fake accounts. 4 days later, he claimed, without evidence, that bots could represent 20% of Twitter's users and said the deal could not move forward. Twitter's stock cratered. It fell nearly 18% during that stretch, eventually dropping 40% below Musk's original purchase price. Shareholders who sold during the chaos lost billions. The plaintiffs argued that Musk deliberately tanked the stock to renegotiate a cheaper deal. The jury agreed, at least partially. They found 2 of his tweets were materially false and misleading. They awarded shareholders between $3 and $8 per share per day in damages, which the plaintiffs' attorneys estimate totals roughly $2.5 billion. The largest securities jury verdict in United States history. Now pay attention to what happened next. Musk's legal team released a statement calling it a bump in the road. They said they look forward to vindication on appeal. And here's the thing, they're probably not wrong to be confident. Because for a man whose wealth grew by $497 billion in a single year, a $2.5 billion verdict doesn't change anything. It doesn't slow him down. It doesn't restructure his companies. It doesn't even make the top 10 list of financial events in his week. The plaintiff's attorney said it best. He told reporters that Musk's status as the world's richest man is not a free pass, but the math says otherwise. And this is where the real story begins. Because the fraud verdict isn't the reason Musk is about to become a trillionaire. It's what's happening behind the verdict that matters. In February 2026, SpaceX merged with Musk's artificial intelligence company, xAI, which had previously absorbed X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. The combined entity was valued at $1.25 trillion. It was the largest merger in history. Musk owns approximately 43% of the combined company. That single stake is worth over $530 billion. It's his largest asset by far. Bigger than his Tesla holdings, bigger than the Boring Company, bigger than Neuralink, bigger than everything else combined. But it gets bigger. SpaceX has confirmed plans for an IPO in 2026. Analysts expect the public offering could value the company at $1.5 trillion or more, fueled by Starlink's near monopoly on satellite internet and the accelerating Starship launch cadence. On prediction markets, traders are assigning a 72% probability that the SpaceX IPO happens before 2027 and a 78% chance that Musk becomes a trillionaire in that same window. Do the maths. If SpaceX lists at 1.5 trillion and Musk holds 43%, his stake alone would be worth 645 billion. Add his Tesla holdings, around 180 billion, plus the Boring Company, Neuralink, and smaller assets, and you're looking at somewhere north of $1 trillion, a single human being worth more than most nations. But here's the detail that nobody is talking about. Last November, Tesla shareholders approved a new compensation package for Musk that could be worth up to an additional $1 trillion, paid out in 12 tranches tied to company milestones. That's on top of his existing holdings. If Tesla hits those targets, Musk doesn't just become a trillionaire, he potentially doubles it. And this is where we need to zoom out. Because the speed of this wealth accumulation is unlike anything in recorded history. As recently as late 2017, no human being on Earth had ever been worth more than $100 billion. That was less than 9 years ago. Today, 18 people clear that mark. Musk alone has gone from $100 billion to $850 billion in roughly 5 years. Bloomberg compared the trajectory to John D. Rockefeller, the oil baron who at his peak in 1913 controlled about 3% of US GDP. If Musk hits $1 trillion, his wealth would represent roughly 3.2% of US GDP. He would officially surpass Rockefeller as the most economically dominant individual in American history. And unlike Rockefeller, whose fortune was eventually broken up by antitrust action, Musk's empire is consolidating, not fragmenting. SpaceX handles defense contracts for the US military. Starlink provides internet to war zones. xAI is competing directly with OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic for dominance in artificial intelligence. X controls one of the world's largest public communication platforms. And through his role in the Department of Government Efficiency, Musk has direct access to the machinery of the federal government itself. Rockets, AI, social media, satellite internet, government access, one man. But here's the part that should genuinely concern you, regardless of what you think about Musk personally. While his wealth has exploded, the systems designed to regulate people at his level have done the opposite. The SEC sued Musk in January 2025 for failing to properly disclose his initial purchases of Twitter stock, a violation that allegedly cost other shareholders at least $150 million. That case is still unresolved. The fraud verdict from Friday carries a $2.5 billion price tag, but Musk is appealing. His AI company, xAI, is under investigation in Europe, Asia, Australia, and California after its Grok image generator allowed users to create explicit deepfake images of children and women. Democratic senators have called for the Pentagon to investigate SpaceX over undisclosed Chinese investors. And yet, through all of it, his wealth continues to climb. Every week. Without interruption. The investigations don't slow the accumulation. The verdicts don't dent the trajectory. The fines don't outpace the growth. Oxfam published an analysis in February 2026 titled Trillionaire in the Making. They found that with $1 trillion, Musk could pay off the total public debt of 31 of the world's poorest countries and still walk away with more than 3/4 of his fortune. He could give $1 billion to 1,000 people and increase the global number of billionaires by over 30%. He could pay the salaries of every single member of Congress for the next 10,742 years. Oxfam's senior director said it plainly, no single person should be this close to accumulating $1 trillion. And Musk's fortune is not the byproduct of only hard work or talent. Much of it is the direct result of a broken system rigged by corporate greed, exploitation, and extraction. Now here's where it all connects. The same week Musk was found liable for misleading investors, Forbes confirmed a record 3,428 billionaires globally, with a combined wealth exceeding $15 trillion. U.S. billionaire wealth has grown 160% since the 2017 tax law, a law whose centerpiece was slashing the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. Since 93% of corporate stock is owned by the wealthiest 10%, that tax cut was, by definition, a wealth transfer upward. And the person who leaked the IRS data proving billionaires pay a true tax rate of just 3.4%, he got 5 years in federal prison. The billionaires whose tax avoidance he exposed faced no consequences at all. You're told the system works the same for everyone. A jury just found the richest man on earth liable for misleading investors, and his lawyers called it a bump in the road. You're told wealth is earned through innovation. The data shows 160% growth in billionaire wealth driven largely by a tax cut they lobbied for. You're told nobody is above the law. Musk is facing fraud damages, SEC investigations, deepfake scandals, foreign investor concerns, and a global backlash. and his net worth grew by $500 billion in a single year while all of it was happening. The world's first trillionaire isn't going to be crowned in spite of the system. He's going to be crowned because of it. Because the system doesn't have a mechanism to stop it. The fines are too small. The investigations are too slow. The regulations are decades behind the wealth. And by the time anyone figures out what to do about a trillionaire, there might already be two. That's not a prediction. It's arithmetic. Make sure the people around you understand what's coming, and if you think the concentration of wealth is the darkest thing happening at the top, wait until you see what 3 million pages of government files just revealed about the people who've been there the longest.